some of the big things, and I'll just kick this off. We're going to keep this conversational between all of us here, but some of the hot things right in the industry today, right? First thing, Titan's making waves. What does that mean, Shane? What's that mean?
Means the big boys, right?
Big
You know,
voice.
Broadcom, VMware, Citrix, for instance, making waves in the UC space are titans, right? And they have been for a long time, leaders. And on the Citrix side, still very much so, but they shifted, right? And that's kind of the whole wave thing, right? They made, Citrix made a massive shift in its direction, where over the last couple of years, but more importantly, I would say over probably the last, 2 years, where they basically are focusing on, more of the strategic, larger customers that want to grow with Citrix, that, lateral movement with inside the environment, understand the full platform, want to stay on it. They're not looking for customers, and pretty bluntly, they're not looking for customers that are trying to get off the platform, that want to go into AVD and or parallels or other solutions, and they just refocused and came back in from this cloud first to like, basically, working towards this, hybrid story, but really doubling down on the innovation in their product. I would say they're in the best position they've ever been from a product perspective and strategic perspective. But that's not good for all customers, right? And there's some customers that are being left behind through this. And so what we've done, and we'll be talking throughout the course of this webinar is what are some of the other solutions out there that are filling the gap, right? The gap that Citrix is not focusing on right now. And so that's kind of what we mean, Titans making
Yeah.
waves.
Also the
That was
Broadcom,
it.
the
Yeah.
VMware, the UC
Oh yeah.
solutions, like moving over to Omnissa there. So a lot of changes there.
A lot
Um,
of price increases.
there's some price increases. There's some price increases. So yeah, the next one here, modern identity and device management, right? Modern device management. Obviously, this is on everybody's mind. Modern device management under the Microsoft umbrella really means a lot for us, and a lot of our projects is Intune now. Identity is across the board. Choose your poison, whatever you're using there. Doesn't really matter. Duo, Entra ID, Okta, ping fed. There's so many of them for these type of solutions, but really this is coming up in each and every project, and it should be coming up for you as an organization and an enterprise. So that one's at the forefront of pretty much every EUC project, because EUC obviously ties deeply into identity and device management, no matter how you write it up, right? So ZTNA, right. You want to talk about ZTNA? You want me to talk about ZTNA? So
Yeah.
you got it, yeah.
I mean, it's a good solution, but zero trust
Yeah,
type of setup, like SPA. Even RAS has one now too, but
there you go.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it seems like everybody has some type of, or they're trying, not like AI, but ZTNA is definitely a buzzword right now,
Yep.
right?
And I think we're saying too, it's like in some cases we'd say it was, buzzword to being kind of the focus more than just a buzzword. And now every customer we're seeing, initiatives, whether it's, secure browser, kind of zero trust as far as, at the endpoint, looking to control things more at the edge, device posture checking, conditional access, all those things. And so I would say starting to definitely hear much more conversations where it was just like, hey, this is something we're looking to do. Now we're seeing more out there for sure.
Yep. Yep. Citrix
yeah,
on the SPA play is a big one that's we got a jump start around, and we're focusing a lot on. But Entra ID, has their private access, so on and so forth. Palo's got a solution. There's a lot of those out there.
Yep.
Modern OS app persona management. Obviously Windows 11, now Windows 12 even coming. Some are skipping over Windows 11 through the quote unquote modern operating system app. The persona management, how you manage that personalization. Really a focus there, no matter how you write it up. Windows 10 is coming end of life here next year. So really it's, pretty much everybody's starting somewhere in their journey to get to the next iteration of what this looks like at the endpoint and, VDI side of things. So, autopilot for Windows 11, those kind of things. So
Yeah, OneDrive for document management.
yeah,
Traditional settings that we had in our profiles are moving more to a modern approach. So yeah,
yeah. And then we
yeah.
got Dex. So
Dex.
good old Dexy.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah, who's feeling Dexy?
That's
Yeah,
right.
so we'll talk. We'll kind of sprinkle the Dex conversation throughout everything that we're talking about today. That's a huge focus for us. We've been, our kind of go-to there is a technology called Control Up, but we've been working with it for over 10, 11 years. But Dex is something that's kind of been formulated over the last few years. It's really just about getting that full end-to-end experience, right? That last mile experience from the endpoint all the way back into the data center, full holistic story, and then really just also bringing in that user sentiment. What are we actually seeing? How is the users? Are they productive? Bringing in the productivity analytics. So kind of bringing all that in. So performance monitoring metrics, and then also the user sentiment. So we have some great solution there, and it's actually something we're hearing more and more from our customers that they're interested in. So say
Yeah.
that's definitely something that's a hot topic for our customers.
Well,
Yeah.
definitely did. Stands for what? Digital employee experience, digital experience, something like that. It's an
Digital
act.
employee experience.
That's right. We need more
Just a
acronyms than
fancy term.
P.
Yeah.
There's always there's never enough. Hybrid cloud, obviously, on-prem public clouds. We've talked about this in all of our webinars for the last 2 years. Even before that, since we've been having a huge focus on the Azure side of things for us, but not on-prem only isn't the norm anymore. So hybrid cloud story, and then obvious AI everywhere, right?
Mhm.
Including at the endpoint, right? So not just thinking about some of the AI solutions on the side, but in the UC world, it really comes into the discussion for these GPU enabled endpoints, VDI. What can I do there? Or the NPU on the physical endpoint. That Microsoft's doing with Copilot and their new chips that are just focused on just Copilot and making that faster. So that's where you start hearing about the NPU now. So AI is everywhere. I'm sure everybody on this call knows that because there's not a single piece of software, I don't think, that doesn't have some kind of AI chatbot or
I'd say probably majority of people on the call right now have a browser tab open with a Chat GPT, a Perplexity, a Claude, or something like that they're
yep,
using a little bit, right? Starting to make our way into our daily work, and it's almost like the consumerization of IT all over again, right? What we were seeing back in the day with Dropbox and things like that. We're going to see that with AI tools too. So.
yep. And Ray's over there. He's trying to figure out his AI humanoid at his house that Elon Musk just came up with. So we were just talking
Oh
through
yeah.
that. He's trying to get his assistant to do his lawn work for him out there with his lawnmower. So
Yeah, they got some cool stuff out there now, man, but I nothing beats the old school going out there and doing it yourself, know that it's done right.
yeah. And then, of course, the licensing shakeups. We kind of already talked about that, but everybody's going to different models, redoing this, that, the other thing, simplifying SKUs, simplifying packages,
Required minimums, right?
required
So that's a big one.
minimums. Yeah. So lots of shakeups there. We could have had like 42 bubbles on this screen, honestly, but we're gonna end it there. And then go to the web of EUC and what that means, Shane. Uh,
Sure, yeah, I'll talk through this relatively quickly because we got a lot of good content, but just we're trying to put together one slide that kind of shows the different, layers that are involved in an end user computing environment. So obviously, kind of surrounding all the layers is the admin, the operational experience. So whatever solution you're looking at, you got the administrative experience, the ops experience from the help desk, the service desk side, security, all through the stack, right? And then, you have the actual endpoints that are going to connect in, whether it's, iGel, physical endpoints, Windows, Mac, et cetera. And then on the right and left side, you see users. And the reason why we have multiple of those is because you have all the different, there's not one specific use case for your entire business, right? You have different flavors, different personas in the environment. So, there's key layers that are kind of across the board. Like the platform is essentially going to serve the majority. There might be like, graphics or GPU based workloads. Well, that's going to be a little bit different on the platform side with GPU enabled nodes, for instance. But your platform essentially is, whether Azure, Nutanix, GCP, AWS. We got VMware with a cross through it there. So just because of what's going on in the market and the shakeup. But not to say it's a bad product, it's just unfortunate decisions that are going on there. Obviously, your three-tier or hyper-converged type solution, apps and data, we're all familiar with that. It's not just your legacy apps, your web SaaS, you got your OneDrive, enterprise file sync, where's your application data set? Are you containerizing your apps? The apps and data need to be close to each other, as we all know. Security, all the different fancy solutions, SASE, EDRs, DLP, FIDO, session recording, all that good stuff. Workspace is all about like the actual user, right? So the persona, the profile, the containers of the profile. We went from FS logics to different containers and file-based profiles, and tuning of the EUC solutions and those policies of the protocol, how you manage the image, AI at the endpoint. What makes up the workspace of the user. Control layer is really like, if it's a control plane, so like a Citrix DAS, some of the other solutions out there, AVD, obviously Windows 365, those are centralized control planes, platform as a services. And there's the IaaS stuff, like Parallels can actually be run on-prem. Citrix does have an on-prem version only, right? But there's limitations there. And then the other pieces in the control are the DNS, DHCP, file services, Active Directory, PKI, federated auth services, right? Where all the other pieces that make up kind of the architecture or the infrastructure outside of your core EUC solution. And access identity, you would say that's why platform and access identity, like and control it should really be that same color. But workspace security, apps and data are kind of user specific, but it's the access identity platform and control that are really kind of across the board. But the access and identity really is become and Oz is going to really highlight some really, really cool stuff on that front. But it's really about how are you getting access into your environment? Are you using the gateway service if you're Citrix? Are you coming in through the NetScaler or storefront, right? Or platform as a service, RD gateway? What are you doing for identity? We're seeing a lot on the modern identity side. So whether it's Entra, Okta, Google, Duo, et cetera, bring your own identity, something we're seeing more and more with M&A. And customers where you're able to do that, say, hey, look, bring your own identity. I'll have shadow accounts. We'll make it a smooth experience. So that's kind of like, and that's kind of, and then we have at the bottom, continuous posture check is something we're seeing a lot more and more. And Oz is going to talk about some cool features there, and we'll kind of sprinkle through, and he's going to go and do a deep dive on that. But that's kind of the web of EUC. There's a lot involved, right? And you, at the top, you see Intune and modern management, right? We're seeing a blur of the traditional management of group policies and AD join versus Entra join and Intune management, and those policies are starting to converge, and we're going to talk more about that here today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, great explanation. It really is a web. So when we were trying to think, it was easy to come up and coin that for the Halloween type theme that we had going on, because when you think about everything interconnects from an EUC standpoint, and that's why it is so complex and so difficult, and everything has to be correct in our world to make it seamless and make the user experience good. And you'll see a little preview down there for the UC world. We're speaking, a couple weeks in DC.
So it's next week, maybe next week.
That's right. That's why it's next week. Is it next week?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Man, time flies, dude. I think it's like
next week.
Yeah, it's Tuesday. We're all over the place, man.
And what does that mean for us? Our UC stack. You can see here the players we've been talking to you about for a long time. If you're a longtime customer of ours, but really it keeps expanding, right? That top level keeps expanding a little bit as these titans have made waves. We've started delving into more of the EUC, solutions that weren't part of our portfolio previously, right? So, as we mentioned, AVD, we've been doing a while. Cloud PC, though, is now kind of a new ride-on solution with AVD, different in how you use it, the targeted customer, the targeted users base for that, parallels, and then we're really looking at kind of Amazon workspaces, but more about Citrix integration with that. But that forces us to then look at that. So this is expanding on that top layer, and then you got the other players, for the other layers down below here, and then really control up with that DEX situation is all encompassing for us. So it keeps growing, and that's why we're having these webinars to kind of talk where we are, right?
Yeah, and the key thing too is to mention is you'll notice choice is highlighted. Right, it's not just because we're choice solutions, but we could have went with a lot of different solutions in that top layer, but it is deeply ingrained in the DNA of the company is to ensure that none of these solutions are essentially are a lock-in, right? We look for, platform where possible, right? Platform agnostic. Obviously if you're an Azure customer you're using Azure, but things like Nutanix that are, hybrid multi-cloud, things like Citrix that are hybrid multi-cloud, right? And not looking for a solution. Parallels can run anywhere, right? And so that's kind of something you'll see, and if you've known us for a long time, you'll know that. That's why that's very important as we look to evaluate these solutions, that we follow that same mentality. Yeah.
Tiny
Yeah. So
little,
what's up with that tiny Zen server?
this
You
tiny
know,
little Zen server in the corner here. It was even smaller. I made it a little bigger.
I know you gave it a little bump, man. It's because you and
Uh,
Ray are getting
well,
rekindled back with Zen Server a little bit,
I
huh?
wish I had to use my phone to see it before. But yeah, that's on purpose because we've been forced a little bit to obviously dust off the skill sets on the Zen Server 6 stuff for us, and kick the tires, light the fires back to Zen Server. I wouldn't say that, but we that is a solution obviously that's coming up more and more. Again, that's the whole Broadcom thing. Everybody's looking for choices and what can we use kind of thing. So Zen Server's back on the slide, baby. It's back on there. So, and then the question mark here is kind of what's next. So there's going to be one slide at the end where we talk through some of these point solutions, some of these new players, smaller players, but whatnot that we haven't really looked at before, and what that means, right? So that's the question mark there for what's coming next for us.